Being chosen is not what most people imagine it to be. It's not all glory, it's not all power, and it's never all ease. Being chosen is a responsibility. It is a fire that selects you before you ever understand its weight. People talk about the benefits, the gifts, the talents, the spiritual covering, but they don't often talk about the price. The price you pay in silence. The price you pay in sacrifice. The price you pay when the world doesn't see your pain, only your strength. And behind every reward of the chosen is a road paved with isolation, misunderstanding, and choices that no one but you will ever truly comprehend. Before we dive in deeper, stay with this message until the very end. This video was not made for the masses. It was created for the aligned, for the awakened, for the ones who know they've been chosen. Drop your warmest wishes in the comments and type 144 to activate your divine energy. This is more than a conversation. It's a spiritual contract. The words you hear, the intentions you send, the energy you align with, all of it is creating ripples in your reality. Wishes are real. Vibration is power. And this moment, it's a portal. Now, chosen one, show your light by liking this video and subscribe to the channel. And let's step into this together. There is a cost to being chosen, and the first part of that cost is loneliness. You will be separated before you are elevated. You will lose people, not because you failed, but because they can't breathe at the altitude you're being called to. Friends fall away. Familiarity dissolves. Even family can begin to feel distant. Not because you're better, but because your frequency is shifting, and not everyone is willing to rise with you. That separation isn't punishment. It's preparation. The chosen are refined in solitude, so they won't be shaped by outside voices when their time comes. Another part of the price is pain, deep, personal, relentless pain. Not because you deserve to suffer, but because pain becomes your teacher. Pain wakes up the parts of you comfort would have let die. You begin to see what others miss. You begin to feel what others numb. That sensitivity becomes your strength, even though it breaks you before it builds you. The chosen feel more, hurt more, heal more, because they were made to carry more. And that capacity, it doesn't come from theory. It comes from surviving what should have ended you. The chosen are often misunderstood. People look at you and assume your strength means you have no scars. They see your peace and think you've never been at war. But the truth is, chosen ones often live behind emotional armor. They smile while rebuilding. They comfort others while battling their own silence. They pour into people who will never see how empty they are inside. And they keep going, not because they don't feel it, but because they know they were built to rise anyway. Sacrifice is the shadow of every reward. You will be asked to let go of things you love. You will have to walk away from what's easy. You will have to outgrow what once felt like home. And that breaking away will feel brutal. But what's on the other side is clarity, purpose, expansion. Being chosen doesn't just require you to receive, it demands that you release. You will release comfort, people, patterns, and even parts of yourself. Not to punish you, but to create room for the version of you that was always waiting underneath. You can't keep both, the old you and the chosen you. One has to go. And it's the chosen one who rises from the ashes, wiser, quieter, and far more powerful than before. Because They've let go of who they thought they had to be and become who they were born to be. That becoming is the reward. But the reward doesn't come without cost. And that cost is often paid in private, long before you ever shine in public. They don't see the sacrifices. They don't see the nights you stayed awake, questioning everything, the days you smiled through exhaustion, the choices you made when no one was watching. They see the strength. They don't see the stretching. They see the wisdom. They don't see the wounds. But you remember. And that memory is what humbles you when the rewards begin to come. The reward is peace, not just the kind that feels good, but the kind that holds you together when everything's falling apart. The reward is wisdom, earned, not given, learned through fire, not books. The reward is discernment, the ability to see what others miss, to move before the crowd, to feel truth even when it's silent. The reward is alignment, knowing you're no longer chasing anything because what's for you is now chasing you. But here's the thing. You will be envied for what you had to bleed for. You'll be judged for blessings you cried for. You'll be resented by people who never saw your process, only your elevation. And that's part of the price, too. The burden of being seen as lucky when you know you were just faithful. And in those moments, you must remind yourself, I paid for this in ways they'll never understand. The reward isn't just what you receive, it's who you become. Someone who doesn't just survive storms, but commands them. Someone who doesn't seek validation because they embody truth. Someone who doesn't fear loss because they've already died and been reborn. And that version of you, that's what the world was waiting for. That's why you were chosen. Not because you're perfect, but because you said yes when everything in you wanted to run. And now that you're stepping into it, don't expect applause. The applause may never come, but the alignment will. The clarity will. The impact will. And the more you walk in that, the more you realize this isn't about what you get. This is about what you carry. The light, the voice, the message, the mission. And it won't always be easy, but it will always be worth it. The world sees being chosen as a crown, but it's more often a cross. It's not a label. It's a lifestyle of discipline, detachment, and divine accountability. People want the light without the heat. They want the reward without the refining. But what they don't understand is that the real price isn't paid in gold, it's paid in obedience. And obedience will take you places applause never could. It will take you through fire, through heartbreak, through nights of silence where the only voice left is the one within. That's where you're shaped. Not in the celebration, but in the stretching. To be chosen is to be called before you're comfortable. You don't get time to prepare. You don't get full clarity before you're expected to move. Often, you have to walk forward with nothing but intuition, nothing but a whisper, nothing but the echo of something inside telling you, go now. And most won't understand it. How could they? You're building from a blueprint they weren't given. You're carrying something invisible. And invisible weight is the heaviest kind to explain. Your journey will never look like theirs, and that's exactly why you were chosen. Because you don't follow trends. You follow truth. You don't settle for average. You stretch toward the divine. You don't copy. You create. And that creation comes from your capacity to see in the dark, to trust in the silence, to move when the road hasn't been paved yet. The price of being chosen is walking without a map, but with an inner compass no one else can hear. And yes, that will cost you comfort. You'll lose the luxury of staying where it's safe. Chosen ones don't stay small, even if they try. Life won't let them. The call on their life will keep disturbing their peace until they answer it. You'll be pulled, pushed, stripped, and just when you think you've arrived, another layer will be peeled back. Not to punish you, but to prepare you for the next level. See, the reward is always proportional to the refinement. The more you're trusted with, the more you'll be tested by. Your patience will be tested, your humility, your ability to forgive, your resilience, your boundaries, your self-worth. The test is never just about if you can win, it's about who you are when you do. Can you remain true to your essence when the spotlight hits? Can you stay rooted when everything tries to pull you back into your old patterns? The chosen are often called to lead, but leadership doesn't start in public. It starts in private. It starts in how you lead yourself through grief, through delay, through heartbreak. It starts with how you keep your integrity when no one's watching, how you stay grounded when no one's validating you. The public reward only follows private mastery. And chosen ones? They learn that lesson the hard way, because there are no shortcuts on this path. You'll be asked to forgive people who never apologized. You'll be told to hold space for those who once tried to destroy you. You'll be called to rise while your heart is still healing. And the higher you go, the lonelier it can feel. But in that solitude, you'll meet yourself. In that silence, you'll hear your own voice clearly for the first time. That voice, steady, quiet, ancient, is your power. It is your connection to the divine. It is your compass in the chaos. And it will guide you through some brutal sacrifices. Not just letting go of what's bad for you, but sometimes letting go of what's almost good enough. Letting go of just fine. Letting go of comfort when it's competing with your calling. The chosen can't afford to stay where they're tolerated. They must go where they're activated, where their gifts are pulled, stretched, and sometimes challenged, not to tear them down, but to pull greatness out. It's easy to think you're missing out when you're set apart. But what's really happening is you're being reserved, covered, hidden from distractions that would water down your vision, protected from relationships that would have stunted your growth, separated from the noise so you could develop the depth. You weren't being overlooked, you were being refined. And refinement isn't glamorous, but it's necessary. The reward, though, it's beyond anything they told you. The reward is internal peace that cannot be shaken. The reward is knowing that no matter what happens outside of you, you are grounded within. The reward is alignment, the kind that makes the right doors open, the right people appear, the right opportunities fall into your lap. Not because you forced anything, but because you became the version of yourself who naturally attracts them. And let's not lie, the material rewards do come. The success, the influence, the overflow. But by the time they do, you're not chasing them anymore. You've already been fulfilled by what you became in the process. The chosen don't just rise in status, they rise in spirit. And that spiritual elevation changes everything. You no longer seek, you magnetize. You no longer beg, you command. You no longer explain, you embody. But you'll always remember what it cost. That's what keeps you grounded. That's what keeps you humble. That's what makes you compassionate when you see others in their becoming. Because you know what it's like to be crushed. You know what it's like to rebuild. You know what it's like to say yes, When everything in you is afraid, and you also know that nothing was more worth it. You paid the price. You lived the sacrifice. Now you're standing in the reward. But this is only the beginning. The deeper you go on the path of the chosen, the more you realize it's not just about what you do. It's about who you become. The outer world may show growth through numbers, followers, wealth, or recognition. But chosen ones know the true elevation is internal. It's the stillness in your mind after years of mental war. It's the gentleness in your spirit after surviving betrayal. It's the strength in your silence when you no longer have to explain who you are to people who never intended to understand. You don't arrive here by accident. You arrive here by walking away from what nearly destroyed you, by leaving behind everything that looked like love but wasn't aligned with your soul. You sacrificed the easy path. You stopped settling. You stopped apologizing for your light. And when you did, everything started to change. Not because the world became easier, but because you became sharper, wiser, more in tune with your assignment. Being chosen doesn't mean you're always confident. It means you move anyway, even when you're unsure, even when your hands shake. It means you trust the calling more than the comfort. And with that trust comes clarity. Slowly, steadily, the fog lifts. The noise fades, and the whispers within you become loud enough to lead. That's where you are now, stepping into a season where the voice inside you matters more than the voices around you. You realize the sacrifice wasn't just about what you lost, it was about what you made space for. By letting go of people who only loved you conditionally, you made room for divine connections. By releasing the identity that was based on fear, you uncovered the truth of who you are. Every no became a door to a better yes. Every delay revealed divine timing. Every betrayal became a mirror, not of your worth, but of what you no longer need. And now, you move differently. You no longer chase. You attract. Not because you're trying to impress, but because your energy has matured. You've healed the part of you that once begged for crumbs. You've remembered that what's meant for you recognizes you. You no longer overextend. You no longer shrink. You no longer perform to be chosen, because you already are. People will sense the shift. Some will be drawn to it. Others will resist it. That's part of the cost, too. Being misunderstood not because you did anything wrong, but because your light now exposes what others are hiding from. Some people can't handle your wholeness because it reminds them of their fragmentation. Some will resent your peace because they've made chaos their comfort. Let them. You didn't rise to stay relatable. You rose to become real. You'll be tested again, not by pain this time, but by abundance. Can you handle overflow without losing yourself? Can you stay humble in your growth? Can you steward power with grace? The tests don't stop when the rewards come. They just change form. And chosen ones know you're always being refined. The fire may not hurt as much now, but it still burns off anything that can't go with you. You've learned to honor your solitude, to use silence as fuel, to see time alone not as punishment, but as alignment. That's where your next level was born, in the quiet, when no one was watching. When you started speaking to the version of yourself that no longer needed the world to validate them. That self, the one who leads without fear, gives without depletion, and speaks with clarity. That's the reward that no one can take from you. The external success is coming. Maybe it's already here. But the peace, the stability, the inner balance, that's what truly changed your life. You no longer question your path. You don't get distracted by the crowd. You don't give energy to every opinion. You've learned how to walk in alignment so fully that you feel when something's off before words are even spoken. That awareness is the result of everything you gave up. That's the fruit of your sacrifice. And now, you've become someone others look to. Not because you chased visibility, but because your evolution became a vibration. Your journey became a message. Your survival became their blueprint. And even though they don't always say it, they see it. They see your consistency. They see your integrity. They see your growth. And they wonder how you did it. The answer? You stayed true when it would have been easier to bend. You didn't just survive the cost of being chosen, you became the kind of person who can handle the reward. That's the secret. The reward isn't just a destination. It's the capacity you built through the sacrifice. You're now able to hold more peace, more purpose, more provision, because you emptied yourself of what no longer fit. And because you did, you've made room for everything that does. You're no longer the version of yourself that clings. You release quickly now. You detach with grace. You say no without guilt. You walk away when energy shifts, because you understand the value of peace, and you're no longer willing to pay for chaos with your soul. That level of discernment, that's the chosen one's reward. It may not look flashy on the surface, but it changes everything about how you move. The weight of your calling didn't break you. It built you. The sacrifices you made didn't ruin you. They refined you. And now you're standing on the other side. Not perfect, not finished, but ready. Ready for the next level. Ready for the next opening. Ready for the full release of everything you were prepared to carry. You didn't ask for an easy life. You asked for a true one. And you've paid the price to walk it. The next chapter, you've already earned it. There is a moment on every chosen one's path when noise no longer excites you. You're not chasing recognition. You're not competing with anyone. You've tasted something greater than applause, clarity. And once you've found that clarity, everything changes. You're not moved by what used to trigger you. You don't flinch when people misunderstand you. You don't overextend to be accepted. You simply exist in alignment. And that, in itself, is power. You used to feel the need to explain yourself, to prove that your heart was pure, that your intentions were right, that your distance wasn't bitterness, it was boundaries. But now, you've stopped explaining. Because people committed to misunderstanding, you will never hear you. You've learned to let them talk, let them guess, let them go. You no longer fight battles that drain your spirit. That is the discipline of the chosen. Your maturity came from sacrifice. You had to lose parts of yourself that were addicted to being needed, seen, validated. You had to stop rescuing people who had no intention of saving themselves. You had to walk away from the version of you that tolerated half-love, constant confusion, and emotional debt. That kind of clarity only comes from pain. But that pain gave you eyes, spiritual vision. And now you see what others miss. You no longer ask, "Why did this happen to me?" You've graduated to, what did this awaken in me? Because now, even your wounds have wisdom. Even your failures carry fuel. Even your delays were lessons. You don't move from frustration anymore. You move from awareness. You've become a builder, not just of success, but of structure. Structure in your thoughts, in your habits, in these, i.e. in your relationships, in your standards. This is the cost people overlook. To become solid, you had to break again and again until you realized you were never broken, just in process. Every crack exposed what needed healing. Every fall revealed what needed foundation. And slowly, you rebuilt. Not into the person they expected you to be, but into who you really are. And now, you don't beg the world to see it. You embody it. And embodiment is louder than explanation. You walk differently now. Not with arrogance, but with certainty. You're no longer moved by trends, by opinions, by fear. You are moved by purpose. And because of that, your steps are measured. Your space is sacred. Your time is intentional. You don't run anymore. You rise, not from hype, but from conviction. Not from pressure, but from principle. The sacrifices weren't just emotional, they were energetic. You had to unlearn habits that numbed your power. You had to delete mindsets that came from survival. You had to face yourself in ways others never will. Because being chosen doesn't mean you're special, it means you're responsible. You're accountable for how you carry the gift. And when you realize that, you stop playing with your potential. The real reward? Peace. The kind of peace that can't be faked. That shows up when you know who you are and no longer perform for the world. That lives in your decisions, that vibrates in your presence, that covers you when things don't go as planned. And now that you have that peace, you protect it. Even if that means saying no, walking alone, or being misunderstood. Because your peace is too expensive to trade for temporary comfort. You've stopped arguing with energy that wants to pull you backwards. You've stopped doubting seasons of waiting. You've stopped comparing your timeline to people whose paths were never meant to match yours. You don't want their journey. You want what's yours, because you know what you paid for it. You know what you gave up to stay in alignment. And when you've made peace with your process, there's nothing more powerful. The chosen don't move fast. They move deep. They don't need to be first. They're focused on being real. And real can't be rushed. You took your time. You didn't force anything. You built slow. You healed properly. You refined the vision again and again until it matched your soul. And that kind of preparation, it pays off in ways that cannot be measured by numbers or likes or noise. It pays off in impact. Because now, you're no longer just carrying the reward for yourself. You're carrying it for those connected to your obedience. You're the first in your family to break cycles, to say no to patterns, to rise in silence and return with wisdom. And even if they never say it out loud, you're changing them, not through lectures but through example. And that's the calling, not to be loud, but to be undeniable. To be the quiet one who stayed when it got hard. The steady one who didn't fold. The faithful one who kept planting when the ground was dry. The chosen one who rose when no one was watching. And now walks with a knowing that doesn't need proof. This is the reward, not applause, not fame, not validation, but becoming. And the more you walk in who you've become, the more you realize it was all worth it. There's something sacred about walking through pain and choosing not to let it harden you. That's what the chosen ones carry, not just wisdom, but compassion, not just strength, but depth. Because once you've seen darkness up close and made it out with your light still intact, you start to see the world differently. You speak differently. You lead differently. You realize that leadership isn't about controlling others. It's about mastering yourself. It's about showing up consistently even when no one claps. It's about being the person who keeps going when quitting would be easier. People admire your discipline now, but they didn't see the days you had to drag yourself through healing. They celebrate your wins, but they'll never understand the weight behind them. And that's the part that few talk about. The weight of being chosen. It's not just about sacrifice or silence. It's about carrying more than most can imagine, and doing it with grace. It's about holding yourself accountable to a higher standard, even when no one's watching. It's about standing in rooms where your presence makes others uncomfortable, not because of ego, but because of your evolution. You've also learned that the reward isn't always loud. Sometimes it's subtle. A morning where you wake up without anxiety. A night where you fall asleep with peace. A conversation that doesn't drain you. A decision that doesn't betray you. That's the fruit of everything you sacrificed. Peace. Alignment. Freedom. Not the kind that's sold on screens. The kind you feel when your soul is no longer at war with your spirit. This is why you walk the way you do now. Not faster, but wiser. You don't just look for opportunity anymore. You look for alignment. You don't just want connections, you want resonance. If it costs your peace, your focus, your inner stability, it's too expensive now. You've paid enough already, and when you've paid in private for as long as you have, you stop giving discounts on your presence. You're not angry. You're not bitter. You're just clear. Clear on what you value. Clear on what you allow. Clear on what you will no longer tolerate, even from yourself. You no longer talk about boundaries. You embody them. You no longer announce your shifts. You become them. And people can feel that. They feel the difference. Because now, your life is proof of your choices. Your peace is proof of your alignment. Your glow is proof of your inner work. You don't have to try to shine. You are light now. Not because you never broke, but because you rebuilt in silence. Stronger, softer, wiser, more intentional. That's what the process gave you. Not just rewards, but range. You've seen the depths of pain, so now you can walk others toward healing. You've faced the silence of isolation, so now your presence brings comfort. You've battled doubt, and now your faith is your foundation. And here's the most powerful part. You didn't let what hurt you define you. You let it refine you. You stopped carrying pain as identity. You started using it as fuel. You took everything meant to destroy you, and you turned it into a blueprint for becoming. Now you walk through fire, and you don't burn. You feel pressure, but you don't fold. Because you've learned that pressure is not punishment, it's preparation. For more responsibility, for more vision, for more impact. You're not just living for yourself anymore. You're paving a path for others. You're breaking generational chains. You're becoming the person you once needed. And that's the legacy of the chosen. Not just to rise, but to raise others. Through your presence, through your choices, through your story. Not the one you tell, but the one you live. And no, they won't always thank you. They won't always understand, but you don't do this for applause. You do it because it's who you are. It's who you were called to be. And you're finally ready to carry that calling with your whole chest. Not hiding, not shrinking, not doubting. You paid the price. Now you're walking in the reward. And it's only getting better from here. You've walked through fire. You've carried the silence. You've paid in pain, in patience, and in presence. And now you stand where few ever get to, not just with a reward in hand, but with the wisdom to hold it. You didn't rush the process, you respected it. You didn't fake the glow-up. You earned it, quietly, fully, completely. The world sees the results, but only you know the cost. Only you know what you let go of, what you forgave, what you released to become this version of yourself. And that version, it's no longer becoming, it is. You've sacrificed for clarity, and now you live with vision. You've surrendered comfort, and now you walk in alignment. You've buried old versions, and now you stand in your power, not to impress, but to lead, to serve, to embody. The price was real, but so is the reward. And the reward is you. Whole, aligned, ready. This is the rise of the chosen, and this time, nothing can stop it.